Yo, what's up guys, Megapellia, and I'm back now with round 2 of the Pokemon VGC'15 UK Regional battle that I attended, and this is a round 2 game versus my opponent Jacob Kent. And an interesting story about Jacob actually is before I actually even knew I was partnered up with him, way before the tournament even started, when we was all registering, I did actually notice him because he stood out quite a lot, because in my opinion he actually looked a lot like Loki from Fairy Tail. And that is by no means any disrespect to Jacob. So if he is watching, I don't mean any disrespect by it. I thought his style looked really cool and it really did look like Loki from Fairy Tail. So that was interesting. And getting drawn against him in round 2 was pretty nice. So of course at this point we are both 1-0. Winning our first round matches, and this is a very fascinating game. If you can look at my team, you guys probably already know my team by now, but once again I'll just go through it. Of course, Mega Salamence partnered with Clefable. I also have a Heatran, Terrakion, Rotom Wash, and Ludicolo. I'm looking at my opponent's team. My opponent's running some interesting Pokemon to say the least. His first Pokemon is definitely what I'm presuming to be his Mega Metagross. Next up he has Gudra, which hasn't been used as much in VGC 15 as opposed to 14. In VGC 14 it was definitely a good way to deal with rain. Next up he has a Skarmory, which is a very interesting Pokemon, which I've never really seen used, but it's something I've actually contemplated and considered actually using on a team. Next up he has Rotom Heat, again another Pokemon which is very good in VGC 14. Also, his next is in fact a Drapion, something interesting and very unusual again, so I'm not too sure what to expect coming from that. And his final Pokemon is Superior, which of course has gained a lot of popularity since its Dream World ability has been released. So looking at the team preview, I automatically know that my Heatran is the biggest threat to his team, 100% does so much work, and only really is Gudra, which can take a fire type stab coming out of my Heatran. So I do know if I can deal with the Gudra well enough, then my Heatran should be able to rip through his team. So nonetheless, let's just get straight on into this battle, shall we? So like I did mention, Heatran is the biggest threat to his team, so that's exactly what I'm going to decide to lead out with and actually partner up with Clefable. The reason being is because with Clefable I do know I can redirect any potential attacks, as my opponent actually leads off with the Drapion and the Skarmory. So this is pretty interesting, as I'm not too sure what the Drapion could do, and I'm pretty sure my Heatran 100% walls the Skarmory. I do know it gets access to Tailwind, so that could potentially be a play, and obviously with the ability to Sturdy it can leave a Heat Wave coming from my Heatran. So immediately I am actually threatened by a Poison type attack coming out from the Drapion. So I'm just going to make the switch from my Clefable here and actually just go out into my Rotom Wash, as my opponent could also be running the Iron Head on his Skarmory, so that would be quite nasty. And my opponent does just go straight for the Cross Poison, which I take relatively well. And I'm going to use this as an opportunity to set up a Substitute now. I expect him to target down the Clefable and potentially go for Tailwind, which he does actually go for, which is nice for me. So I am now behind the sub, and I do know I can freely just go for a Heat Wave, do as much damage off onto my opponent, and go from there. So what I'm actually going to decide to do this following turn is, like I said, go for Heat Wave after I do get a little bit of HP back from my lefties. But I'm actually going to decide just to protect at this point, just to scout out what the Drapion wants to go for. Maybe he wants to go for a Night Slash onto that slot, which he does actually reveal, which is great for me. And he's actually going to go for a Brave Bird, actually targeting down my Heatran, which is a little unusual play because I'm pretty sure it's not going to be able to break my sub. And, oh, sorry, I do apologise. It does break my sub, but at the time that was what I was thinking. I wouldn't be able to break my sub, but it seems as though this Skarmory is running a decent bit of attack investment. But nonetheless, after the Brave Bird recoil, it will obviously break the Sturdy, and I am able to fire off a Heat Wave, which will take down the Skarmory. So it's an early KO for me, and I do over 50% to the Drapion, which is nice. So yeah, it was a little bit of a questionable play, I was thinking, when he was targeting down the Heatran, but as you can see, he justified that, as it worked out well, as he was able to break the sub. So he's trading his Pokemon, his Skarmory, just to get the sub, which I suppose is a good trade, considering my Heatran is a huge threat to his team. So now he's going to go out into his Metagross. Like I said, presumably the Mega Evolution. However, I have a great matchup versus his Mega Metagross here. So what I'm actually going to do here is he has a couple of plays he could potentially go for. What I decided to was go for the Protect with my Heatran, just to potentially scout a Hammer Arm, or maybe even an Earth Power, an Earthquake coming out from his Mega Metagross. And I actually decided to target down his Mega Metagross with a Hydro Pump. And the reason why I did this, as I was able to cover both avenues. I wasn't sure what his Mega Metagross could be running, whether it's running Sub, which is the reason why I went for the Hydro Pump over going for the Will-O-Wisp. And I just protected just to scout to see if he was running something to hit my Heatran with. So that was definitely the safest play by me. It's a little bit of a non-turn here as no damage gets off, but I do manage to get a little bit of HP back with the left ears. So again, I don't actually know what his Heatran's running, and I want to conserve, what his Metagross is running, and I want to conserve my Heatran because it is the biggest threat to his team. So I'm just going to decide to go into my Salamence, which will enable me to get off the Intimidate on both these physical type attackers. So my opponent actually goes for Night Slash, targeting the Heatran slot, but unfortunately for me scores a crit, and actually reveals a Rock Slide here now, which after the crit from the Night Slash will pick up the KO onto my Salamence. Does in fact score a secondary crit, which isn't going to matter. So at this point I was a little bit annoyed as he also managed to score a flinch. So that turn did not work out well for me, as I was obviously going for the Hydro Pump onto the Metagross slot, I do believe, as my opponent's Tailwind does in fact peter out. So I'm forced to go back out into my Heatran now, so I'm in the exact same position as was the previous turn. Unfortunately I am a Pokemon down, however my opponent are both at -1. So here, now he has revealed that he's running Rock Slide, I'm free just to go for the Heat Wave, as my opponent goes for Night Slash again. Here scores a secondary crit, and I was like, okay, so this thing's most likely running Sniper, maybe even Scope Lens, so probably the initial crit on Salamence didn't matter. And here, thankfully I don't get flinched again. I'm able to fire off a Heat Wave, which will pick up the Drapion, which did turn out to be a huge threat to my team with the critical hit chance, which is never great. So he's down to his last tier, which turns out to be his Superior and his Metagross. I'm down to my last tier, which of course I have revealed my Clefable and my Heatran, the two Pokemon I did in fact lead with. So I know I'm in a fantastic position considering he's not actually running the Goodra. He didn't bring the Goodra or the Rotom Heat, which was quite inevitable and quite obvious once he didn't switch any of those in to take the Heat Wave. So I was expecting his last to be Superior, and it is. So I know I'm in a fantastic position here, as I can freely just go for the Follow Me with my Clefable and go for the Heat Wave play, which should pick up the win, considering I do not get flinched by Rock Slide if he does choose to go for that. My opponent doesn't go for the Leaf Storm, and actually goes for the Zen Headbutt. In hindsight, I think my opponent should have gone for that Rock Slide flinch chances, as it was definitely the only way he can actually win this game, as I just see my Clefable was able to eat up both those hits, and I'm able to fire off a Heat Wave. So like I said, in hindsight, he should have gone for Rock Slide as opposed to trying to KO my Heatran with a Zen Headbutt Leaf Storm combination, as the Follow Me was really obvious. But nonetheless, I am able to pick up a double KO here on the last turn and win the game. So that's fantastic for me. I was able to win my round 2 battle. So my confidence is coming pretty high now. I'm able to win my first 2 games, which is great. 2 nice battles. Heatran, Clefable, definitely putting in work in this second battle for sure. So nonetheless, I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you did, be sure to leave a like, comment down below, and of course subscribe for more. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.